I wanted Biden to win, not because I like Biden, but I just thought that there's nothing positive at all with Trump and the people around Trump. I mean, Trump had some anti-interventionist rhetoric in 2016. He criticized the wars in Iraq and Libya and Syria. And, people, I guess understandably thought that he was less hawkish than Hillary Clinton, whose career is defined by intervention and, just imperialist policies. But really, as soon as Trump took office, it was pretty clear who he served. He serves a far right agenda. He listens to Sheldon Adelson, Mike Pompeo, all those people, and they are the worst people on the planet and the worst people for the planet. So no matter what Biden does, I don't think it will be as bad as the Trump teams. Again, no matter what Trump's own personal views were, it doesn't even matter, because ultimately on every single major decision, he escalated. And sure, he didn't start a war with Iran, but he tried. He pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal, reimposed murderous sanctions, assassinated Qasem Soleimani, engaged in constant provocation. So,
supplied the Saudis with the weapons, despite the bipartisan initiative to, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And whereas I thought with Biden, there's a hope. There's a hope.
I made the same call. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I also argued a similar position that, based on New Start, Saudi genocide in Yemen, Iran nuclear deal, these were things that we could count on. Joe Biden, in good faith hope that he would do that. You just had no chance of getting done with Donald Trump. I agree.
But in terms of your question, what will Biden do? Well, look, there's some encouraging signs to me. His first major foreign policy decision upon entering the White House was re-entering New Start, a vital nuclear treaty with Russia. That's a good thing. He appointed Rob Malley as his envoy to Iran. Rob Malley has an impressive, in the spectrum of U.S. policymakers in recent memory, Rob Malley has a pretty impressive record. He, back in 2000, when Clinton was brokering peace talks between Israel and the Palestinian Authority, the talks broke down, and everybody, the entire media, with Clinton encouraging them, blamed the Palestinians and presented this falsehood that the Palestinians had rejected this amazingly generous offer of 2 states. They would get Jerusalem and most of the West Bank, and it was this wonderful deal, but they're so greedy and ungrateful that they refused to accept it. It was complete propaganda. I mean, in reality, Israel wanted to keep all the major settlement blocks. They did not want to give the Palestinians any part of Jerusalem, but instead like a suburb of Jerusalem, which they could then rename Jerusalem if they wanted to. So it was a complete scam, and everybody in government went along with it, except for Rob Malley, who told the truth and said, actually, no, this is bullshit. We didn't offer them anything. So, and then, under Obama, while a lot of his Obama administration colleagues were supporting the dirty war on Syria, people like John Brennan, Rob Malley was trying to negotiate an end to it and was pointing out that this was an insane policy. And he played a role in basically winding down the dirty war. And he also was instrumental in the talks that led to the Iran deal. So the fact that Biden has made him his envoy to Iran immediately is a good thing. Now, as people have pointed out, his views conflict with the stated views of Anthony Blinken, Biden's Secretary of State. So there's obviously differing views inside the Biden camp, and we'll see who wins out. But the question that they'll have to face is, do they want to keep continuing all these insane Trump policies, like the Iran deal? Do they want to keep Trump sanctions now and keep undermining what was a huge achievement of the Obama administration? Or do they want to go back to diplomacy? And in Syria, where the U.S. helped destroy the country with a 10-year dirty war, do they want to keep imposing these murderous sanctions where doctors have to smuggle in medical equipment and people in Washington pretend that they're somehow holding Assad accountable? Under Trump, I think there was little chance of that changing, but under Biden, maybe there is. I mean, I'm not optimistic, but Biden apparently, according to what we've been told, Biden internally opposed the Libya intervention. And apparently he was also skeptical of the dirty war in Syria too. And in fact, he gave one of the best summaries. Joe Biden gave one of the best summaries I've ever heard of the dirty war in Syria in public comments. He was speaking while he was vice president at Harvard in it was either 2014 or 2015. You should look up this clip. It's amazing. He basically says that our allies, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Qatar, were on the side of Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Syria. And they were flooding Syria with tens of thousands of tons of weapons and billions of dollars, and allowing jihadists to fight in. And that was who our allies were supporting in Syria, because they wanted to have a proxy war against Iran. So Biden told the truth. He knows the truth. Now, from that story, he omitted the critical U.S. role in all of this.
Right.
But it shows at least that there's an awareness on his part of what the reality was. And the question for him is, does he want to keep punishing Syrian children because their government defeated the dirty war that the U.S. waged for 10 years and, forcing people to smuggle in toothpaste and all these essential goods? There's at least now, I think, a split inside the Biden camp about that. And hopefully the saner side will prevail.